Welcome to Strictly Healthy, my first for 2021. Very excited to be here. And as you see, I'm having a bit of a play with a new studio setup. Hope you like it. Anyway, just wanted to speak to you and introduce to you this new world we're into. It's not much different from 2020, but I'm thinking positive things and good things coming up for 2021, hopefully. Anyway, we have a special guest today. Her name is Bernie Davies. She's a motivational speaker, international motivational speaker, author. What else? We've got all kinds of good things that she is good at, coach, trainer. But I want to introduce you to Bernie Davies. Welcome, Bernie, to our show, Strictly Healthy Show.
Oh, thank you, Linda. Thank you for having me. And I'm so pleased to be your first in 2021.
My first in 2021. So you're very welcome. So now let's get right into it. I did say that you are a coach and motivational speaker and trainer, etc. But you also used to be a former lawyer. I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes. The thing
can you
is,
tell me a bit about your story?
Yes, I've qualified for over 31 years, practiced for most of my career. I last practiced in 2009. My last job was a head of property at a prominent law firm in Cardiff in Wales, where I am. And but that position is what propelled me to what I'm doing now. I mean, looking back, I know I can see that it was already there because I always loved to work with people, and in my career, I always liked to do the training bits. If we had to train any staff in the firm, I would be the one that they'd have training, and I was always speaking or representing. So I knew that I had that. But when I joined that firm in 2006. Here in Wales, I had to, it's a new department. So I had to actually go out and build it. I had to be out there networking and creating the strategies and executing it. So that's when I realized how incredible networking is, how fascinating it is to work with different groups and sectors of people to build a business. And I got so good at it that in 2009, I actually left the practice and started my own business, training lawyers, other professionals, local authorities, the very Cardiff city that I was residing at the time, their local authority economic development team, Johnson & Johnson, all sorts of big companies. I trained from that time to network and market and build your business. One of the other things that I do, which we didn't mention, is that I also own a networking organization as well, alongside all of the various other hats that I wear.
Well, let's just go back a little bit first, because you're sort of telling me what's going on sort of now, and
yes.
But tell me, I can hear your Jamaican accent.
Yes.
How did you get from Jamaica, and just tell me the process that brought you here to Wales and the UK.
Process that brought me
and then how did you get into the position that you are in?
Gosh, right. So
going back a bit of a story.
Yes, so they call it in Jamaica old story time. so it's old story time. So what happened is back in Jamaica at the time, gosh, I moved here in 2000. So just before that, there are many laws that were changing in Jamaica that had a direct impact on the immovable property of people in the diaspora, meaning real estate. And at the time, I had a general practice and I did a lot of property. And I got connected to solicitors over here in the United Kingdom, and in particular with various council members and so on in the region in London, who were putting together events to bring the diaspora together, the Jamaican diaspora, to understand what all these laws that are changing in Jamaica at the time, what are the impacts, what's the impact on them. in
Okay.
terms of their estate and how they need to plan their end of life. So I used to come up and give those talks. That's how
Right.
I got connected here in the UK. And then the rest is history. It developed that it looked like a really good idea to move over here and develop some of my connections that I had at the time. But then
Mm-hmm.
when I moved here, I moved up to Bradford,
Mm-hmm.
and the connections that I had made, they didn't work out too well. So I actually ended up being unemployed, and I was
Uh-huh.
told at the time I was overqualified. So what I did is that I set up a charity. I set up a charity in Bradford. I
What
honestly,
was the
they
name of your
asked
charity?
City Refuge International because the charity was born. It came out of one of what I call my U-prints, which is I am always looking at. No matter what's going on with me, I'm looking. Where's the problem? Who has a need? And at the time, I looked around me in the city and I realized there are a lot of people that needed support: refugees, asylum seekers, and indigent British citizens who just had difficulty circumnavigating the social welfare system. So
Right.
at the time, I was going to a church that used to do a lot of social outreach. They had a city
Mm-hmm.
center block of offices. I said to them, give me one of those offices. I'm going to run a charity. I'm going to provide that need. Instead of sitting down and feeling sorry for myself and saying, oh, why are you telling me I'm overqualified? I created the charity. And do you know, Linda, that charity that I set up has to date landed me my most prestigious speaking engagement at the United Nations in 2003.
All
I
right.
actually,
Wow.
yes,
That's
and
brilliant.
that's it. And so I
Yeah.
tell people this all the time. I tell them, listen, when you have a difficulty, in that difficult time, who can you serve? What can you do? Because in that
Mm-hmm.
serving and in that doing could be your own salvation. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, when I actually went, my trip to speak at the UN was actually paid for by the Bradford Council, to take my daughter as a nanny there with me and to pay all the expenses to speak. So that's just
Well,
a true
you've
story.
you've you've got to tell us that story then. How did that manage to work out?
Well, it was because I was working with refugees and asylum seekers, wasn't I? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a bit, immigration has always been a big topic. Yes.
Yes.
So based
Yes,
on the work that
indeed.
I was doing, then there were one of the refugees, the asylum seekers that I actually was serving. He was quite a big noise in another part of the world, and he
Okay.
had connections with the people. So he came in, and he was volunteering with me, supporting me, and I was doing all this research, and he referred my organization to the big connections that he had, because a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't realize that refugees and asylum seekers, some of them are from the most prominent of places with the most very, very high connections and very
Mm-hmm.
high intellect. And they usually are people who are in high positions where they were, but they weren't liked by the powers that be. And we had one of
Right.
those
Yeah.
people who
Mm-hmm.
I was helping in Bradford, and then he ended up coming on my team, and the rest is history.
Ah, right. And so how did you exactly get to be speaking at the UN though? How did that sort of work out?
Because the organization that he was supporting from
Mm-hmm.
before, their connection, he referred me to them, and their connection invited me to speak on the topic. And the topic was about how the communication telecommunications and migration and immigration as in particular relationship to refugees and asylum seekers. What is the impact of that, and how we can merge the two within the new global economy at the time.
Okay.
So I was to speak to them about that and how it impacts upon the United Kingdom, and in particular the sample of refugees and asylum seekers that I was dealing with. But that was a direct referral from
Right.
one of the people I was serving.
Well, so was that your first total speaking engagement then?
No, no, no. First one in the UN.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, no,
So
no, no. I've
then,
always been a speaker. Always been a
oh,
speaker.
right. Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
that's why he
So,
referred me.
so tell us a little bit more about your speaking engagements then, and how did you? Well, you did the thing with the UN. How then
Yes.
did you sort of get to? Wales
Well,
and
if you go
establish
back, if
yourself
you
in Wales and so on.
right, so as I said to you before, it was my speaking that got me to the UK. Remember, because I
Yeah.
came over to speak about what was
Hmm.
happening with the law. So I was
Right.
known to be a speaker, despite the
Oh,
fact I was a
good.
lawyer,
Yeah.
as known. So that followed me. And when he found out about my credentials, he then
Hmm.
referred me on to his contacts, and
Okay.
I went and I spoke at the UN. However, when I after that whole incident, not incident, that whole journey, it took
Okay.
me into just 3 years.
Hmm.
I spoke with somebody and they said, listen, what you're going to have to do now, you're going to have to cut your CV down, make it into the form like an avatar. That's what we call avatar now, of the job that you want, and just put
Hmm.
that and apply. So I did that, and I got my first legal job at Walker Morris's Solicitors in Leeds. And
Ah,
pretty soon, of course, that is where I got a very good position. Then I moved on to DLA Direct. I used to do training with them, but they were
hmm.
not really focused on training because I always had training at my heart. My mother's a
Hmm.
university professor. She passed away now, so I think probably that's where I got the teaching that
Hmm.
love impart knowledge.
Hmm.
So
Well
when I
done.
got
Well done.
turned down, they wouldn't set up a proper training department. I tried to move to a law firm that had a proper training department, but I did
Hmm.
not get the job. And I thought, well, I'm not happy about this. And
Hmm.
I'd come to visit Wales a year before and I fell in love with it. I thought it's a beautiful place. So in my moment of feeling very upset that I didn't get the training job, it's a true story. I thought to myself, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to see if I could get a job in Wales because I'm fed up. So I
Hmm.
applied for jobs in Wales. I got the three job
Hmm.
offers of jobs I applied for. I chose the best one and I moved on to Wales in 2006. Okay. And when
Yeah.
I moved on to Wales in 2006, that is where I had to now run this conveyancing department and build it. Pretty much, it was only a 6 month old department. So you can imagine it was a lot of work. And
Hmm.
the funny part of the story, and this is true story. Funny part of the story is this law firm that turned me down. After 6 months of me working and doing everything in the marketplace, I was really good at it. I got an email from the National Conveyancing Congress inviting me to speak in Birmingham.
Oh,
And the
right.
email was asking me not to speak about law or conveyancing, but to speak about how you network and market your conveyancing department. And that is when I realized, my goodness, I probably do understand something that I didn't know I understood. Maybe I'm doing something better than everybody else. And that's when I started to look into myself and wonder, why is it my networking and my business building skills were being noticed? Everywhere I went, the doors are opening. Our local chamber of commerce, they were merging to a regional one. People were
Hmm.
applying to get a seat on the council. I was sent a letter inviting me to join as a black woman in a new city.
Yes. Yeah.
All positions, and I was wondering, why are these positions opening up for me? But that is what starting on my journey of understanding, and that is what is at the heart of this book, my new bestseller, Your Business Your Way. Because I
Mm. Well,
understand that what you've got to do is find that uniqueness in you. Be your authentic self.
hmm.
You need to have something. Embrace your uniqueness. I was different as black. I had a Jamaican accent. I was a woman in
Hmm.
a male-dominated marketplace. I laughed too loud sometimes. Sometimes I didn't even know what. I was silly enough to not know that my when my staff member rang and said, "Bernie, I'm going to be late because my train is stuck in Mountain Ash." I was too stupid to know that it did not mean we had a natural disaster of monumental proportions in Wales. Was just that there was a name of a town called Mountain Ash, and I
Okay.
was spoke it out loud, and everybody they haven't stopped laughing yet. So I had to learn. I don't know the Welsh words. I don't know what I'm doing, but I didn't take myself too seriously. So I started to look at why is everybody you know falling at my feet. It's because I've just been me. But then I was
Well,
also interested
I
in
want to
them.
pick up on. I want to pick up on a couple of things you said. So
Yes,
uniqueness, you said, is something you thought was key to helping you get to where you want to be. And the other thing was you started a networking group. I think I heard you say. So can you tell us a bit about that and the name of it and
right,
how you got that going?
right. Okay, so I didn't start a networking group. What I
Ah,
started, what I
got it
started
wrong.
was to train people to network. So I went
Okay.
in-house. I went into local authorities. I held my own standalone networking training seminars monthly, sell out. I also worked with teams, teaching them how to build their business through relationships. And the lady who is the founder of Introbiz, which you see in the back there, Introbiz, Swansea and West Wales, she's the founder of Introbiz. I met her
Okay.
on that journey. Now, recently, Introbiz has franchised. So I bought the franchise for my region. So now I
Oh, I see.
run a networking organization alongside what I do. But initially, it was me teaching them, Introbiz members and other networking organizations, teaching local authorities, companies, teams, you name it, individuals, how to build their business through harnessing their uniqueness,
Hmm.
but through relationships, through being genuine, credible, and authentic, understanding what it means when you say union. People talk about social capital now, leveraging your social capital. It's a new term for an old thing. It's really about
Okay.
building good relationships. It's not who you know, but
Oh,
who knows
sorry,
you.
we're not hearing you at the minute. You just the sound went out a minute, but maybe you could just repeat that what you
Yes,
said.
I said it's not. It's about building relationships. It's not about who you know. It's also who knows you. It's about being somebody that's consistent. So, for example, I was different. I always had my bright colors, my lipsticks, my nails. All these funny things. But I was always that
That's all
because
right.
they could always depend that Bernie's going to come in and she's going to be loud and proud, right? That's just Bernie.
Mm.
All right. If I came in one day and I was looking sad and miserable and all dressed in black and so on, they'd think, what's going on? So
They
it's
would think
about you
something's
being
wrong.
who you are, because not everybody's going to be me, and we're not
Hmm.
everybody's cup of tea. But what's for
Hmm.
sure is when you harness your best genuine qualities and you use that to build relationships from a
Hmm.
point of integrity, they will last forever.
Hmm.
People will then open up their networks to you. They'll open up. Back in the day, we used to have Rolodexes. They'll open
Yes,
their Rolodex. Now they'll open their phones to you and they will connect you. They
the
will
kids today don't
collaborate
know
with.
what a Rolodex is, do they?
I know these are one of the Rolodexes. I'm kind of like, dating myself now, aren't I? But
So
yes,
that's fun. So what
yes.
what let's just get into a bit about what sort of tips would you offer for people. First of all, 2020 was not great. We know that.
No.
But business people were managing anyway or trying to
Yes.
for the most part, especially those that had online businesses.
Yes.
But how were things for you 2020 and then how are they now for 2021 and any tips that you have that could help any business people with their business health, as this is a healthy show, a strictly healthy show?
Oh gosh. Well, first
Any
of all,
tips that you care to
with the
offer?
health.
Say again,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. First of all, let's start with the health.
Okay.
Definitely, Linda, it is about your health. I could
It
not have
is.
survived 2020 without a young lady who is in my network who does health and well-being.
Okay, yeah.
She does it from a standpoint of looking at your stress and looking
Yeah.
at how it links to your weight and your health habits. Now, I did not realize, and she opened my eyes. This is Emma J. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna embarrass her by saying her name, but she's Emma J. Life Shaper is her business,
Mm-hmm.
and she said to me, we were talking, and she said, Bernie, she started to ask me some serious questions, and she said, you do realize, I just wanted to just ask you, do you realize that you can be stressed doing something you love?
Yes.
Like, she said,
Mm.
you know that if you overdo the things that you love, your body is going to still respond as if you're in a crisis situation.
Mm, that's a good point.
Okay. Yes.
Good point.
I thought, so that's what, because at the time I was struggling. Okay, now I put on back weight over Christmas. Emma, I'm sorry. But I, at the time, at the time,
She'll have to have her get her hands on you again.
at the time, I had to look at myself and I thought, you know what? I'm really enjoying what's happening now. It was right at the height of me. I was writing the book. I was going through all these incredible ideas that I had to they call pivot to business. Oh, I can do this and I can do that. But at the time I was doing 12, 24, like almost 24-hour work. If I'm not actually working, my mind's working. And I was
Yes.
not taking care of myself. So the weight was
Mm,
piling on and it was showing. And
mhm,
she just kindly stopped and just asked me those questions. And
mm.
believe me, that made such a turnaround for me. I
Yes.
lost over a stone to a stone and a half. I lost
Great.
just from getting balance,
Hmm.
getting
Yeah.
balance in the
So
life.
balance
And
is one of the key things.
balance is key, and it is
Hmm.
recognizing that as too much of a good thing is just as bad as a lot of a
Hmm.
bad thing. So
Okay,
we
we get that point. Yeah. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
we've got to, you know, we've got to, despite the fact that we might love what we're doing as our jobs, our bodies don't know the difference. Our bodies just know that it's under pressure. It
So
knows
what
that
you're
it's
saying,
working.
what you're
Stop.
saying is give ourselves some balance and some downtime as well.
Yes,
Whether we're doing something we love, we need some downtime.
you need the downtime. You need to
Hmm.
switch and enjoy something else that does, because you're enjoying work, but there's a lot going on in the mind, a lot going on in the body, a lot of things processing for you to do what you are doing because you're focusing. It's at a different level of your mind is at. So you
Sure.
need to take it down, take it sideways, and enjoy something else.
Yeah. Sure.
Enjoy some relaxation with your play with your grandkids like me, play with your grandkids, play with your kids if you're have children,
Hmm.
young. Coach up with your husband. Coach is a word we use in Wales. Coach means hug. Have a little coach with the husband on the sofa. You know, for me, get on
Right.
the Scrabble board and play some Scrabble. Shift. Go for
Sure.
a walk by the
To
beach. Get the wind in your
de-stress.
face. Just stop,
Mm.
because it's not. A lot of us think we're not
Oh,
stressed. No, you're not. You are not stressed, but the body is under stress
the body
because you're
is.
not
Yeah.
letting it
Sure.
relax. Yes,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
that's one of the key
So
things I learned.
okay, that's a good tip. Excellent tip. So how are things going forward for you now for 2021, and what sort of business tips might you have for people?
Oh, I think the key business tip that I would have for people right now is 2020 caught us by surprise. Yeah, we
Yes.
went to 2020 and we thought,
It did.
hey, let's be having in 2020, and 2020 had us. But tell you
Mm.
what, this year there's no surprise. So we go into 2021 now knowing it's hard. Yes. And so now we
Mm.
going now. We need to go in now with a different way of planning. We need to manage our expectations. But then we
Yeah.
also need to have, back in the day, you used to have this thing about having plan A and plan B. We
Mm-hmm.
need to now start with plan B, C, and D, because we need to anticipate. You need to have an anticipatory plan. Okay, this is what I'd like to achieve, and I'd like to do it in the next 6 months. These are the variants that need to be in place for me to achieve this. Now, if these variants are not in place and something shifts, what would I do? Because come on now, guys, enough of surprises. Yes, it's not about being negative now. It's about being 2021, because we saw
Mm-hmm.
that 2020 means you got a plan. Yeah. Okay, we had to pivot, some
Indeed.
of us pivoted, but a lot of the reasons that some of us have not pivoted as we could is that we didn't have enough time, or our minds are not in the right place to put in that plan, that alternative plan. So let's plan
Okay.
our businesses, anticipating one or two options, and think, how are we going to do otherwise? And then one of the other things, that old adages that have come back to be real now, egg in
Mm-hmm.
one basket, not a good idea. We are not going to be having our eggs in one basket.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
got
So
to
diversifying is what you're saying.
diversifying.
Mm-hmm.
Diversifying. Another thing that 2020 taught us is we all are better together. So
Mm.
when we're planning our strategies, let our strategies not be just about us. And of course, as real business people, we like to think we can do it all ourselves. But come on now, we can't. Okay? So
No, no.
collaboration is key.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to
Good.
know, really harness the relationships that we have. We need to leverage them and we need to put together
Yes.
things that do not only depend on us.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
I know, yeah, that's correct what you're saying. And being together, working together, etc. But a lot of it we've got to do online. So I'm just
Yes.
wondering what are some of your key tips about, say, working online, or the types of businesses that would work online?
Oh,
What sort
goodness.
of things should people get into or think about? Because I know there's tons of people that are losing their jobs, and they're not even, the secure jobs aren't there anymore, and they've got to
Hmm.
start sort of finding work and business online. What would you suggest?
Well, I would say think outside of the box more than
Say
ever.
again, sorry.
Think outside of the box. What is
Okay.
that thing that you do really, really well that you've never ever thought that it could be an honor? Maybe you need to start looking at that. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. So, like for example, me with my book. I had written one before 10 years ago when I started the networking. I wrote a networking handbook. Then
Mm-hmm.
I decided to write this book, Your Business Your Way, because I wanted really to pitch my services to businesses to go in and do what I did back then to help them to develop their teams using these particular strategies. Okay? I had no intention of doing anything apart from that. But I put my book on Amazon, and then the book immediately went to number one hot new release in all its three categories in the first when it in the pre-order stage before it actually released. That broke records on my publishers. They said it's never happened before. It also went up to number four in the entire Amazon bestseller. Okay, now I could have paid some money to get to number one, get paid, but I didn't. I made it go organically and it stayed at number four. I'm proud of that. Okay,
Mm.
you know what that showed me? That
What?
experience showed me that there is money in books. There,
Yes, I
there is
agree with
money
that.
in books. Guys, we need to
Yes.
start thinking. Now I'm talking book series. Okay.
Mm.
Now I'm also mentoring authors.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, so what is it that you have? And I'm telling you the truth that this book was on my laptop and on paperwork in my desk for years. But when I decided
Ah,
to write the book, I pulled it all out and the book
mm-hmm.
came out. I wrote this book. I think it took me 6 weeks to write the book. Okay.
But you had the thoughts all together, so to speak.
It was
You had the
it was
thoughts
it
in
was
place.
in my materials on my laptop. So ask yourself, what do I have on my laptop? What do I have in my notes? What articles do I
Mhm.
have in me? What is it? If that is your area of business, do you a lot of you have books in you and
Expertise.
there is a business there. It's online. So
Mm.
look,
But I think people tend to respect you more, and you get a bit more kudos as well by being an author and writing a book.
yes, yes, but
So,
I'm telling you, there is money in it. There is money
okay,
to be made in selling your books. And so
okay.
that's one example. My daughter recently, another example, shifting it to somebody else who has different skills.
Mm-hmm.
She did public relations and she's working with EasyJet as an
Okay.
executive.
Mm-hmm.
And she's at home working, working from home with them. And over the holidays, she got an incredible piece of kit as a gift. One of these blenders. I can't even remember the name of the blender, but it's all singing and dancing. And she
Okay.
started to mess about with it and make jams. Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Then she started to bottle the jams. I think you see where I'm going with this, guys.
Yeah,
Right?
sure. Sure.
So, guys, what I'm saying is, what's the thing you're messing about with in your kitchen? What's the thing you're messing about with in your workshop? What is it? Look, what's in your hand? You've got
What
to
have you
open your
become good at
eyes.
as well?
Yes, and you're good at it. You're doing it naturally because you like it. That could be
Sure.
something you put online and you sell. You know,
And write a book or some kind of a notebook or
yes,
something about it, a blog,
yes.
whatever. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Oh gosh, then of course you can have the blog where you're showing the people how you do it online. Guys, you've got to think, as my new thing is, you've got to think 2021. It's 2021 thinking now. You've got to think it. Yes.
Well, this is incredible stuff, but believe it or not, the time has gone, and I don't think we've
Oh,
really got through half of what we need to get through with you. So I'm going to have you back if that's all right, because I know there's
yes,
a few more things that we need to get through.
absolute pleasure.
But I want to thank you for joining me today
Pleasure.
on the show. But hopefully we'll be able to have you back very, very soon
I
because
would love that.
and I'm sure people have questions, and maybe we can really pin it down to some good tips that we can share with people with regard to their business and their business health.
But if
All
anybody
right.
needs any more tips, they can also just go on my website, berniedavies.com, and
Thank you.
and book coffee with me. There's a link
Yes,
you can
yes.
book coffee.
You have a good booking system there, so people can get more advice directly. Just book on a half-hour slot or something with Bernie,
Yes,
and you'll be able to get some more tips there. So I want to thank you, Bernie, for joining me today, and
absolute pleasure.
we'll catch up. We'll catch up shortly.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So that was Bernie Davies. She is motivational speaker, and as you heard, quite a few business tips that she's going to share with you or has shared with us today. And I want to thank you for joining me on my very first episode of Strictly Healthy. And next week, that's next week, Thursday at 4, I'll be talking to, oh goodness, what's his name? Chooks Maxwell. Sorry, temporarily forgot. Chooks Maxwell, and he has some amazing thoughts as well for 2021. So hopefully you'll join me then. But thank you for joining me now. That's me, Linda Humphreys. Speak to you soon.